Chapter 19: Dogs and Tracking. This subject has two diametrically opposed facets in the military context. One is the employment of tracker dogs by a tracking team. The other is the study of the techniques of evading a tracker dog and its team. The employment of tracker dog teams dates back to ancient times, but there are still occasions when they are of great benefit to police and also the military. For instance, in the early 1960s, the British Army employed tracker dogs in conjunction with visual trackers to great effect in follow-up operations against the rebels in Brunei. I will first describe how a scent tracker, a dog, can be a great asset to the visual tracker team before going on to describe the evasion techniques employed by special forces to combat tracker teams. Scent tracking, an illustration. This is a policeman's account of a pursuit which exemplifies how visual trackers and scent trackers can become a formidable pursuit combination. After going over fairly easy ground for 10 or 12 miles, we got into a dry, stony district where the runaway, knowing he would be tracked, had jumped from rock to rock, a basic deception tactic. The visual tracker was still able to follow the track, which consisted of scratch marks on the rocks and small amounts of transferred material. When we came to a camp of a work party, the track was fouled, and the visual tracker handed over the dog handler. The dog ran around the camp and indicated that the fugitive had left in a particular direction. The visual tracker confirmed that the ground sign was a crude deception. The runaway had changed his boots in the camp and had, at this point, been walking backwards, another deception tactic that indicates the quarry was still aware that he had a pursuit team following him. Very soon, it was noticed that the quarry had got tired of wearing strange boots and had started to wear his own again. After many miles, we came to a river. The footprints led straight on into the water. We put the dog across, but he didn't find any scent on the far side. He swam back again and found scent of the quarry heading downstream near the riverbank. We followed it along the riverbank for 3 miles, where the quarry had turned onto a path which a herd of cattle had recently passed. The man had obviously nipped in ahead of the herd, hoping that they would obliterate his sign, which, in fact, they did, but the dog had no such problem, and when the man's route parted company with that of the cattle, the dog barely paused. The visual tracker then confirmed the prints as being those of our target, and we carried on. The visual tracker then reported that the sign was very fresh, where earth kicked up was damper than the surrounding ground, and the edges of the track were sharp and not rounded over from the sun or wind. We proceeded cautiously and were able to successfully terminate the pursuit. It is this same combination of man and dog that is so effectively used by the mountain search and rescue teams. The dog. Despite long domestication, the dog retains most of the characteristics found in its wild relatives. Primitive man was quick to spot the dog's advantageous traits and to use them to help in hunting and guarding, although there is a recent theory suggesting that about 10,000, or I should say 100,000 years ago, the wolf, the forerunner of the domesticated dog, actually adopted man as a means of easy food by scavenging around his leftovers. Either way, modern mankind has adapted the dog's traits to aid in the maintenance of law and order, to support search and rescue, and to assist the visually and orally impaired. When properly trained and managed, dogs can be used to pursue a man efficiently for up to 8 hours, depending on terrain and climate, although dogs used in relays can go on much longer than this. Big dogs, when fresh, can run at speeds between 30 and 40 miles an hour over a distance of about 100 meters, but slow quickly after that. They can maintain a steady 8 to 10 miles per hour for several hours, but if employed in long pursuits, they are usually limited by the speed of the handler. Thus, the average speed is about 4 miles per hour. The dog is naturally inquisitive. In many cases, its reactions have to be interpreted by a human, and herein lies a weakness. The handler may misinterpret or ignore a dog's reaction. From the shape and structure of the dog's eye came a theory that the dog is short-sighted and sees only in black and white. We know it has difficulty discerning static objects at a distance of more than 50 meters. However, it has great powers of spotting movement at considerable distances. There is no evidence that a dog's night vision is any better than a human's. The dog has much more sensitive hearing than a human. It has a greater power of locating the source of a sound and can hear noises of a much higher frequency than those detected by man. The scent faculty. The dog's sense of smell is vastly superior to a human's, estimated at 700 to 900 times more accurate. It can detect minute traces of substances on their vapor in the air, on the ground, or in contact with objects. Even minor disturbances of the surface of the ground or floor can be sensed by virtue of the alteration of the scent picture around those disturbances. It is not unreasonable to think in terms of a scent picture for a dog. A dog thinks and smells, another world from a human's. Whatever happens, a dog seems to appreciate all the odorous characteristics in an environment. We can analyze the scent picture in two basic ways, air scent and ground scent, or we can be more specific and say that it is composed of objects themselves, animate or inanimate, chemicals associated with the objects, deodorants and toiletries on a person, oil on a gun, polish on shoes. Human smells associated with inanimate objects thrown away or hidden, discardables. Disturbances of the environment around an object or caused by its passage, such as freshly dug earth, disturbed dust, broken vegetation, smells around hides, or vegetation crushed and disturbed by footfalls. The factors affecting the scent picture. Being of a particulate and volatile nature, scent is subject to chemical decay. The first factor adversely affecting the scent picture is therefore the passage of time. The longer the interval between the track being laid and the follow-up, the weaker the smell. Other factors, however, accelerate or retard the decay of the scent. Wind may disperse scent. Heavy rain or running water may wash it away. Strong sunlight will speed evaporation of the scent. Frozen ground tends to hold scent and release it gradually when it thaws. A soft, warming wind or gentle sunlight will enhance the scent picture by drawing out smells from the environment. Factors may combine to provide conditions for a good scent picture. For example, at night when the warm ground gives off its scent into the cool atmosphere, which tends to retain any scent. Tracker dogs. Dogs are employed to find the line of the quarry's progress on foot. They work mostly from ground scent, but after the passage of time they may follow the evaporating scent given off in the air. Therefore, the visual tracker, working in conjunction with a scent tracker, should not be misled by the tracker's dog's seemingly erratic progress, and the fact that its head is lifted as it moves. No memory key, such as sniffing clothing belonging to the quarry, is needed. A handler will experimentally cast a dog around an area until he observes his dogs following a particular line. The dog has been trained to follow any distinct track. Scent trails. Tracker dogs are taught to follow a certain scent trail. These are strongest in soft going or when the quarry has moved through long grass or vegetation. The scent trail is considerably easier to follow when moving into the wind. The scent trail remains for quite some time, evaporating soonest from hard surfaces within 6 to 8 hours. Masking scent. There are no guaranteed substances available to stop a tracker dog from following a scent. Successful evasion of dogs depends on the intelligent use of dog evasion techniques and any improvisations that can be utilized to put the tracker dog and his handler off the pursuit. Some chemicals may destroy scent, but if applied, they will have characteristic telltale odors of their own. What definitely will not happen is a smell being masked by the application of another. Anything added, such as anise, just becomes another part of the scent picture to a dog and is a giveaway of a human presence and intent to deceive. Also, if a human covers himself in animal excrement, he just smells, to a dog, like a human covered in animal excrement. The key sign is the human smell, which is unchanged. Scent checks. There are no guaranteed scent checks to throw a tracker dog off a human scent. 3 categories of substances are used or have been developed to confuse a dog. Attractants. This is meant to resemble the scent of a bitch. The obvious reasoning behind this is that the dog would prefer to follow this rather than the human scent. The downside to the use of this type of substance is that if any should inadvertently get onto the soldier's clothing, it will only make the pursuit easier. Also, the scent is powerful. The handler will be able to smell it and realize what has happened. By casting around, the handler will be able to continue the track. Then, too, the tracker dog may be a bitch. Repellents. These are primarily designed to put dogs off bitches in heat. They are disagreeable smells, but they will not deter a highly trained dog that is in good working form. Decoys. These are designed to be more powerful than the human smell. The idea is for the quarry to drag this for a little distance before discarding it. The hope is that the dog will lose the quarry scent and the decoy smell, and that, if a well-chosen discard point has been made, the scent trail will be broken and lost. Performance levels. Dogs are trained to different standards and are temperamentally very different. The normal teaching methods for dogs in this reward system, where they are kept hungry and rewarded with food when they find their quarry. Some dog breeds are particularly suited to this type of work, such as the typical hound breeds and gun dogs, but some are less enthusiastic than others. I've worked with dogs that lost interest after only half an hour. Tracker dog teams. Military tracker dog teams normally consist of 2 or more dogs plus a visual tracker, snipers, and good communications, usually ground to air. Depending on the context of the operation, a tracker team can be placed onto a scent trail very quickly by helicopter and replaced by fresh teams working in relays. A variation of the employment of dogs in a tracking-related scenario is their use in searches for survivors in earthquakes, avalanches, and during mountain rescue operations. These dogs can be trained to work on or off the lead and either to sit in the area of the casualty when it is located or to return to the handler and sit in front of him as an indication that the dog has located a body. Tracker dog evasion. This is first and foremost a military skill that a Special Forces patrol, and in this case I mean a long-range raiding or reconnaissance patrol working deep in enemy territory, needs to study if the intelligence indicates the enemy will be deploying tracker dogs in their search and destroy missions. Evasion techniques. The aim of the evading Special Forces soldier is to delay the pursuit, break the scent trail. He is taught that the recommended tactics for delaying are crossing obstacles. It takes twice as long for the dog and handler to cross. Moving with the wind, not into it. The scent will be blowing away from the pursuit and will be much harder to follow. Avoid changing direction at obvious places. For example, instead of following a route over a mountain pass, turn off before the pass and contour around the hillside, or turn off and change direction before a track junction rather than at the junction. Laying false tracks and backtrack. Using streams and hard surfaces such as rocky ground, roads, railway lines, fences, and dry stone walls. The scent will disappear more quickly from these, particularly in sunlight. Mingling his scent with recent human scent, such as moving down a path or road that has recently been used by locals for a few hundred meters, if tactics permit. Animal smells or droppings can also assist, but are not as effective as human scents. For breaking the scent trail, the Special Forces soldier is taught gain time in order to allow the scent to become faint due to evaporation. Use streams to good effect by laying false trails immediately upwind of the entry point, and then by moving downstream and downwind. Then, if possible, exit onto rocks or any other hard surfaces. If the situation permits, march the last mile or so along hard surfaces or in water. He should stop and hide as near first light as possible, thus permitting the day heat to weaken and eventually disperse his scent. The only known, totally effective scent tracking or scent breaking method used by evading troops was to ride on an animal or bicycle. Summary: scent tracking. There are air scents and ground scents that come from objects themselves, animate or inanimate, chemicals associated with the objects, deodorants and toiletries on a person, oil on a gun, polish on shoes, human smells associated with inanimate objects thrown away or hidden discardables, disturbances of the environment around an object or caused by its passage, such as freshly dug earth, disturbed dust, broken vegetation, smells around hides, or vegetation crushed and disturbed by footfalls. Factors affecting the scent picture. Wind may dissipate scent. Heavy rain or running water may wash it away. Strong sunlight speeds evaporation of the scent. Frozen ground tends to hold scent and release it gradually when it thaws. A soft, warming wind or gentle sunlight will enhance the scent picture by drawing out smells from the environment. Factors may combine to provide conditions for a good scent picture. Scent checks. There are no guaranteed scent checks to throw a tracker dog off a human scent, but 3 categories of substances are used to confuse a dog: attractants, repellents, decoys. Tracker dog evasion techniques. The aim is to delay the pursuit and break the scent trail. Tactics for delaying are crossing obstacles, moving with the wind, avoid changing direction at obvious places, laying false tracks and backtrack, use of streams and hard surfaces such as rocky ground, mingling your scent with other recent human scent. Tactics for breaking the scent trail are gain time, use streams, use hard surfaces, stop and hide at first light. The only known, totally effective scent-breaking method used by evading troops was to ride on an animal or bicycle.